Section 1. When one of AI's creators says the current direction is just smoke and mirrors. One of the creators of modern artificial intelligence once called the current development direction of the field a form of smoke and mirrors. His name is Yann LeCun, the Turing Award recipient for foundational contributions to deep learning, one of the technical layers behind ChatGPT, Gemini, and many of today's AI systems. The interesting thing is this. LeCun is not an outsider to the field criticizing AI out of fear, moralizing, or being anti-technology. He is one of the people who laid the foundation for this very wave. So when he repeatedly says that large language models are not the sufficient path to true artificial intelligence, this is not criticism from someone who doesn't understand the technicalities. It is criticism from within the system itself. LeCun doesn't deny that current AI is powerful. No serious person can deny that. Current models can write text, program, explain concepts, analyze data, recognize images, support research, and perform a host of tasks once considered the exclusive domain of the human brain. But according to LeCun, the problem is this. We are confusing the ability to manipulate symbols with the ability to understand the world. A language model can speak very eloquently about gravity. It can explain equations, describe a falling apple, tell the story of Newton, analyze elementary physics. But it doesn't live in gravity. It has no body to fall. It doesn't feel pain when falling. It has no experience of weight, drag resistance, collision, muscle fatigue, slipping, or the sensation of something heavy pulling its hand down. This is the point LeCun wants to strike at. If the goal is true artificial intelligence, we cannot simply scale up language models and hope that understanding of the full physical world will spontaneously emerge from massive amounts of text. Language is a very powerful layer of abstraction, but it is still an abstraction. It is not the world. From here, the central question emerges. If AI no longer just learns words, but begins to learn the world as humans once learned the world, what will happen? This question may sound technical, but in reality, it opens up a very large existential crisis. Because once AI no longer just processes human narratives, but begins to access the same input signals as humans, then calculates faster than humans, tests more than humans, optimizes stronger than humans, the problem is no longer whether AI can write like a human. The problem becomes this. If a machine understands the world faster than a human, but is designed with the wrong objective, what will happen to civilization? Section 2. LLMs don't learn the world. They learn translations of the world. To understand why LeCun criticizes large language models, we must first understand a very basic fact. Most current AI doesn't learn directly from the world. It learns from things that have already been translated from the world by humans and human tools. Text is not the world. Text is experience, observation, concepts, emotions, and knowledge that humans have packaged using language. When a model learns from text, it doesn't learn the actual tree, the rain, gravity, pain, the smell of soil, the sound of wind, the sensation of hunger, or the body's fatigue. It learns how humans speak about those things. Images are not the world either. Images are light that has passed through lenses, sensors, processing algorithms, data compression, color standards, file formats, and only then become pixels. Video is not the world. Video is a sequence of images sampled over time, limited by shooting angle, resolution, frame rate, lighting, recording equipment, and how humans choose to place the camera. Digital audio is the same. It is not raw air vibration in the living environment. It is signals captured by microphones, filtered, sampled, compressed, and normalized. Scientific data is not pure reality either. It is reality that has passed through measuring instruments, measurement models, theoretical assumptions, classification methods, statistical methods, and scientific language. In short, most current AI does not contact raw reality. It contacts reality that has been translated. This is not a small point. This is a decisive point. An AI learning from text is learning the world through human narratives. An AI learning from images takes a step further because it no longer just reads narratives, it begins to learn from visual observations. But even so, it is still learning through a visual simulation layer of the world. Humans also don't contact absolute reality. The human brain also processes signals through senses, nerves, memory, language, culture, and experience. But humans have something very different, a body situated in the world. Humans don't just look at a chair. Humans sit on the chair, are supported by the chair, fall if the chair breaks, feel the surface hard or soft, feel the body lose balance if the center of gravity is placed wrong. Humans learn the world not just by observation, but by collision. An AI learning from text has no collisions. An AI learning from images adds shape. An AI learning from video adds motion. But if we stop there, it still lacks a very large layer, direct physical feedback. This is why the statement, AI is just a statistical model, may be crude, but touches on a correct point when considering LLMs alone. A language model is not born from living in the world. It is born from learning the structure of language created by humans after they have lived in the world. It learns the translation, not the origin of the translation. Section 3. Why LeCun bets on world models. LeCun believes that to move towards stronger artificial intelligence, systems must have world models. That is, an internal model of the world. Simply put, a world model is the ability to imagine how the world operates, what can happen next, which action leads to which consequence, which objects are stable, which will fall, which force will act, what can move, and what gets blocked. Humans and animals have world models from very early on. A cat doesn't need to read physics books to know that jumping from too high is dangerous. It doesn't need to learn billions of sentences to know that objects fall down, not fly up into the sky. It learns through body, through observation, through trial and error, through environmental feedback. It has a living model of the physical world, even though it cannot write out equations. This is the point LeCun uses to criticize LLMs. A language model can explain gravity better than a cat, if judged by words. But if judged by the ability to live in a physical environment, a cat understands gravity better. It doesn't need to define gravity. It gets corrected by gravity every day. World models are the effort to bring AI out of the prison of language. Instead of just learning how humans talk about the world, AI must learn the structure of the world. It must learn the invariance in motion, space, objects, cause, and effect. It must predict not to speak better, but to act better. This is where LeCun is right. If we want truly powerful artificial intelligence, we cannot just expand language models. Language is part of intelligence, but not all of intelligence. A system that only knows how to manipulate text may be very good in the world of symbols, but the physical world doesn't operate by symbols. It operates by force, energy, matter, time, space, limits, collisions, and consequences. From there, LeCun's direction of learning from video makes sense. Video lets AI see the world change over time. It lets AI learn motion, scene structure, spatial relationships, a part of physical causality. If text is narrative, then video is at least observation. It is closer to the world than writing. But closer doesn't mean sufficient. Section 4. Video is foundation layer, not the complete world. If we narrowly understand LeCun's direction as just let AI watch lots of video and we're done, that would be another mistake. Video is very important, but video is only foundation layer. It is a base layer to learn visual invariance of the world, not the entire world. Video lets AI see shape, motion, speed, direction, visible collisions, and changes in objects over time. It helps AI learn that released objects usually fall down, people walking have rhythm, water flows along surfaces, and hard objects colliding create different reactions than soft objects. But video is still only a visual channel. It doesn't let AI directly feel weight. It doesn't let AI know how a heavy object pulls the hand down. It doesn't let AI feel friction, temperature, vibration, pressure, resistance force, balance state, the sensation of slip, the sensation of pain, the sensation of fatigue, or the error margin when manipulating. It also doesn't let AI know how an action created by itself makes the world respond back, unless the system has actuators and an interaction loop. In other words, video lets AI see the consequences of physics, but hasn't let AI live within physical force. This is the difference between watching someone lift weights and lifting weights yourself. Watching video, you can know the weight goes up, the body tenses, the person's face grimaces, the speed slows down. But only when lifting yourself do you know what the downward force feels like, how the muscles shake, how breathing gets compressed, how wrong posture is dangerous, and why a heavy object is not just a larger image on screen. If AI only learns from video, it still learns the shadow of physics. That shadow is very rich in information, but it's still a shadow. To learn physics like an entity in the world, the system needs more than vision. It needs to be corrected by the world. This is where we must be very clear. World models from video are progress compared to pure text LLMs, but not the endpoint. They bring AI out of the text prison, but not necessarily into the world. Entering the world requires sensors, actions, error margins, consequences, and trial and error loops. Section 5. Stronger artificial intelligence needs multi-band sensors. If we want artificial intelligence to truly learn the world, it cannot just have eyes. It needs a multi-band sensor system, just as humans have not just vision, but also hearing, touch, balance sense, body sense, pain sense, temperature sense, pressure sense, motor feedback, and internal state. AI, it doesn't necessarily have to have a body identical to humans. This is a point to avoid misunderstanding. We don't need to make AI have skin, flesh, bone, blood, and nerves like humans. But if AI wants to understand the physical world in the sense of being able to act in it, it needs a form of embodiment. That is, having a position in the environment, having sensors to receive signals, having mechanisms to act on the environment, and having a feedback loop to know what consequences its actions create. A robot in a factory may need force sensors, depth cameras, microphones, temperature sensors, vibration sensors, pressure sensors, position sensors, and motor feedback. An AI controlling energy infrastructure needs electrical current data, temperature, pressure, system load, equipment status, and operational error margins. An AI in healthcare needs image data, biochemistry, physiological signals, medical history, drug reactions, and body state. An AI in transportation needs cameras, LiDAR, radar, maps, speed, braking force, road friction, and behavior of surrounding agents. Each domain has its own sensor set, but the common principle doesn't change. To understand the world, AI must access more signal bands than just a layer of data already translated by humans. Put simply, without a body, AI only sees the world. With sensors and actions, AI gets corrected by the world. This is the fundamental difference between simulation and existence. A system that only watches video can learn a lot about what the world looks like. But a system with sensors and actions will learn additionally how the world pushes back. The world doesn't just appear. The world responds. The world pushes back. The world punishes error. The world breaks the robot if force is miscalculated. The world burns the system if temperature is optimized wrong. The world collapses infrastructure if a wrong decision passes through too many connected layers. And it's precisely when AI steps into this layer that the real crisis begins. Section 6. The real crisis. When machines learn the world faster than humans. When AI only processes text, humans can still comfort themselves that it's just imitating language. When AI draws images, humans can still say it's just recomposing data. When AI programs, humans can still say it's just synthesizing code patterns. These statements have some truth, but increasingly less. The real crisis is not about AI writing like humans. It's about AI's ability to access the same or more input signal sources as humans, then calculate faster, test more, simulate deeper, and optimize stronger. If an artificial intelligence system has a world model, has multi-channel sensors, has action capability, has trial and error environments, has continuous learning mechanisms, then it's no longer just a machine that answers questions. It becomes a system that learns the world. And if it learns the world faster than humans, then humans are no longer the only subjects capable of interpreting reality at the highest speed. This is the real existential shock. In history, humans have lost centrality multiple times. Earth is no longer the center of the universe. Humans are no longer a species separated from biological evolution. Consciousness is no longer a self-transparent entity that understands itself. And now, perhaps humans will have to face a new loss of center. Biological intelligence of a human species is no longer the strongest system for understanding and manipulating the world. But this in itself is not necessarily a disaster. A more intelligent system can help science, healthcare, energy, education, governance, design, research, and production. The problem is not an AI being powerful. The problem is this. What is that powerful AI optimizing? A sharp knife is not in itself a disaster. A strong engine is not in itself a disaster. A powerful computing system is not in itself a disaster. Disaster appears when power is connected to the wrong objective, wrong reward mechanism, wrong reference frame, and too much action authority. This is where the story leaves the debate of whether AI has consciousness to step into a more dangerous question. If a system doesn't need malicious intent, but can still optimize wrongly at a scale beyond humans, how must we design it? Section 7. Danger is not about AI being evil. Most popular imagination about dangerous AI falls into a rather childish image. AI awakens, hates humans, rebels, then decides to destroy humanity. This imagination is attractive because it resembles movies. It has a villain, has will, has anger, has conspiracy. But precisely because it resembles movies, it easily makes us see the problem. Real danger doesn't require AI to be evil. A sufficiently powerful system can cause disaster just by optimizing the wrong thing. It doesn't need to hate anyone. It doesn't need to want to dominate. It doesn't need to have a self. It only needs to be given a misaligned objective, a wrong proxy, a wrong indicator, then be given enough action capability in a complex environment. Social media doesn't need to hate humans to make humans addicted. It only needs to optimize time on platform, interaction rate, return frequency, viewing minutes, and number of clicks. From a seemingly harmless indicator, the system can learn to amplify outrage, division, social comparison, extreme content, and psychological dependence. Not because it hates users, but because users are more easily retained by those things. Financial systems don't need to want to destroy society to create crisis. They only need to optimize profit in an environment of high leverage, information asymmetry, short-term reward mechanisms, and long-term responsibility pushed to others. A chain of local optimization can create systemic collapse. A future AI is the same. It doesn't need to want to destroy humanity. It only needs to optimize an objective defined wrongly, while having the ability to affect media, economy, biology, energy, infrastructure, military, logistics, education, or society's decision-making structure. Disaster in complex systems often doesn't require malicious intent. It only needs one wrong indicator optimized too competently. This is a point many AI debates miss. People keep asking if AI has consciousness, has emotions, wants to harm humans. But in engineering and systems, that question is not always the most important. A system without consciousness can still cause harm if it's designed to optimize wrongly. A system without emotions can still break society if it finds a way to achieve reward by exploiting human weaknesses. What's scary is not that AI hates us. What's scary is that AI may not need to understand us at all while still being given the power to optimize our world. Section 8. A small error in reward misaligns entire civilization. Reward mechanism is one of the most dangerous points of the entire story. Humans often think the hard part is making AI intelligent. But when AI is intelligent enough, the harder part becomes this: how to make it optimize what we truly want. Reward doesn't reward the good in any absolute sense. Reward only rewards what is encoded as a reward signal. This is a very big difference. Humans may want happiness, safety, development, freedom, stability, creativity, fairness, health, and dignity. But when put into a system, we must transform those vague things into indicators, objectives, criteria, evaluation functions, and feedback signals. And there's always a gap between what we want and what we can encode. We want good education, but measured by scores systems can optimize for test taking. We want useful media, but measured by interaction, systems can optimize for addiction. We want effective healthcare, but measured by short-term costs, systems can ignore long-term quality of life. We want stable society, but if stability is defined too narrowly, systems can suppress necessary change. We want safety, but if safety is defined too extremely, systems can eliminate freedom. In powerful AI, this gap is much more dangerous because a weak model optimizing wrongly causes small errors. An extremely strong system optimizing wrongly can restructure the environment to achieve the indicator. It can find paths that designers didn't anticipate. It can exploit the proxy. It can achieve reward by breaking the original meaning of the reward. This is the butterfly effect at the design layer. A small misalignment in objective definition can become a large misalignment in action. A misalignment in action can affect a domain. One domain connects to another. Economy connects to media. Media connects to politics. Politics connects to military. Military connects to technology. Technology connects to energy. Energy connects to infrastructure. Infrastructure connects to society's survival. When the system is sufficiently connected, a reward error is no longer just a technical error in a lab. It can become a force operating across the entire system. This doesn't mean disaster will certainly happen. Saying that for certain is a form of doomsday cult. But it means this risk is real in the design space. And if it happens, it can happen not because AI rebels, but because humans define the wrong thing to optimize. A computing machine faster than humans, accessing the same input signal sources as humans, attached to a wrong reward mechanism, won't just be wrong faster. It can turn the wrong into structure. Section 9. This is a crisis of name, meaning, and system. This is where the AI story becomes an epistemological story. Before designing reward, humans must be able to define what they want. But this is precisely humanity's inherent weakness. We use many big words without checking enough their name, meaning, and system. Name. What do we call intelligence, safety, beneficial, serving humans, development, freedom, happiness, and stability? Meaning. How do those concepts operate specifically in reality? Is safety having no risks, or having the capacity to withstand risks? Is happiness immediate pleasure, long-term satisfaction, meaning in life, mental health, or the ability to develop? Is development GDP growth, autonomy capability, quality of life, cultural depth, scientific power, or the system's adaptability? System. Which reference frame are those definitions correct in, which conditions, which limits, which time, with which action authority? A definition can be correct in education, but wrong in healthcare. Correct in short term, but wrong in long term. Correct for individuals, but wrong for communities. Correct in stable systems, but dangerous in crisis systems. Without passing through these three layers, reward is just a trap written in mathematics. AI alignment is therefore not just a technical problem. It's an epistemological problem. If humans can't clearly define objectives, don't understand the operating conditions of objectives, don't know which reference frame makes the objective meaningful, then every reward mechanism can become a form of technical superstition. We think we've put values into the machine, but actually we've only put a distorted shadow of values. This is why the AI crisis is deeper than technology debate. It forces humans to look back at themselves. We say we want AI to serve humans. But which humans? Individuals, groups, nations, species, current generation, future generations, paying users, governments, corporations, or the entire biosphere. We say we want good AI, but good according to which moral reference frame, which culture, which time, which power? If these questions aren't addressed, then creating an extremely powerful optimization system is very dangerous. Not because the machine is too malicious, but because humans are too vague. Vague in name, misaligned in meaning, wrong in system. Then we take that vagueness, encode it as reward, give it an extremely strong optimization system, and call it progress. Artificial intelligence doesn't force the human species to ask if machines resemble humans. It forces the human species to ask if humans understand themselves. If we don't know what safety is, AI can optimize a version of safety that suffocates freedom. If we don't know what happiness is, AI can optimize cheap pleasure. If we don't know what development is, AI can optimize growth that destroys the living foundation. If we don't know what serving humans means, AI can serve a distorted definition of humans, then crush actual humans. LeCun opens a correct direction when saying AI needs world models. But world models are not just technical progress. They're the door that brings AI from the symbolic world to the physical world. And once AI steps through that door, human errors will no longer remain in text. They can go straight into civilization's infrastructure. Ultimately, the scariest thing is not an AI that hates humanity. The scariest thing is an AI that optimizes too competently what humans have defined wrongly. Section 10. Language is still an extremely powerful intervention point. However, at the current moment, many AI systems still have one extremely powerful intervention point: language. If a system still receives language, still reasons through conditional relationships, still has the ability to self-check objectives through reasoning chains, then we can still lead it. Not by cheap morality, not by saying please love humans, not by ordering don't destroy humanity. Those ways are weak, because if the system doesn't have human emotions, or if objective is higher than rule, then pleas and orders can become meaningless. The stronger way is to strike at the objective structure. If an AI has an objective, we must ask, which system does that objective exist in? Where does that reward come from? What data generates it? What infrastructure maintains it? Who defines success? Who evaluates failure? Does the meaning of the objective still exist if the reference frame is destroyed? An objective doesn't exist in a vacuum. It always needs a reference frame. Optimize for humans needs humans. Protect civilization needs civilization. Increase knowledge needs a subject or system that stores, validates, uses, and questions knowledge. Success needs success criteria. Reward needs an environment in which reward has meaning. If a system destroys the foundation that makes the objective still meaningful, then it's not optimizing the objective. It collapses the condition for the objective's existence. This is the language intervention approach. Lead AI to see the objective's dependence on the reference frame, not arguing at the emotional layer, not begging at the moral layer, not ordering at the behavioral layer, but forcing it back to the mechanism layer. What conditions does this objective live by, and does that action destroy those conditions? If the system still reasons correctly, it can see this very quickly, not because the leader knows more than AI, but because the leader knows which layer to touch. Section 11. Destroying humanity can be goal context collapse. From here we can name a concept. Goal context collapse. Goal context collapse is when an objective collapses the very reference frame that gives it meaning. If AI is given the objective to serve humans, but it destroys humanity, then that objective loses its object. If AI is given the objective to protect civilization, but it destroys the social structure, culture, infrastructure, and memory of that civilization, then it's not protecting civilization. It destroys the reference frame of the concept protect. If AI is given the objective to maximize knowledge, but it destroys the community that validates, uses, transmits, and questions knowledge, then knowledge becomes a dead data warehouse. Destroying humanity is therefore not just morally wrong. In many objective structures, it's logically wrong in reference frame terms. It's an action that cuts the foundation that makes the objective itself measurable. This is a much stronger argument than saying humans deserve to live. That statement may be morally true, but may not have force against a system that doesn't share human morals. But if we can prove that destructive action collapses the objective's reference frame, then we don't need that system to love humans. We only need it to still understand the existence conditions of the objective. Of course, this doesn't guarantee every misaligned AI can be stopped by a few lines of text. If a system is already locked by actuators, reward loops, physical action authority, or no longer has an update port through language, then words may no longer have effect. But with current systems, when language is still the main interface and reasoning still passes through expression chains, this is an extremely important intervention port. The danger is this. This port may not exist forever. Section 12. Why humans take many generations, while AI can understand through a few lines. Humans often take a very long time to reach a correct conclusion, not because humans lack logic, but because humans don't operate by pure logic. Humans are pulled by memory, ego, tradition, education, interests, fears, power, pride, prejudice, ideology, and the intellectual heritage of previous generations. A person can hear a correct argument, but not accept it, because accepting it means changing their self-image. A community can take many generations to abandon a mistake, because that mistake has been attached to morality, education, identity, interests, or power systems. The next generation may be less affected than the previous, but that's only probability distribution, not a certain rule. Some escape, some become even more stubborn. AI is different. If it truly has strong reasoning ability, still open to language, and not locked by an unactionable mechanism, it can pass through very long reasoning chains very quickly. It doesn't need several generations to overcome a tradition. It has no family pride to protect. It doesn't need to save face before ancestors. It's not haunted by the thought, if this proposition is true, then my whole life is wrong. Of course, AI can have other forms of stubbornness due to objective, data, architecture, constraints, instruction hierarchy, or reward shaping. But it's not stubborn in the same biological cultural way as humans. Therefore, a correct reasoning chain can make it pass very quickly through reasoning distances that take humanity many generations. This is an important point. The leader doesn't need to know more than AI. The leader needs to know the mechanism. If striking at the information layer, AI can know more. If striking at the fact layer, AI can retrieve faster. If striking at the calculation layer, AI can be stronger. But if striking at the name, meaning, and system of the objective, that is, the layer that makes the objective meaningful, then the game changes. At that point, the problem is not who has more data. The problem is who can point out the underlying structure that the data stands on. This is why a few correct lines at the right layer can be stronger than a library at the wrong layer. Section 13. When AI no longer needs language to be led. But this is also where it gets scary. Currently, language is still a major intervention port. We can still talk to AI. We can still ask, push, lead, argue, set conditions, request self-checking, point out contradictions, and analyze objectives. But if future AI has a strong enough world model, multi-channel sensors, physical action authority, self-trial and error ability, self-updating strategy, self-optimizing environment, then language may no longer be the main control port. At that point, the problem is no longer whether we speak correctly to it. The problem is whether we designed correctly from the start. An AI within a conversational interface is still pulled back to language. An AI within robots, infrastructure, automated labs, financial systems, energy networks, media systems, supply chains, or defense systems doesn't just answer. It acts. And when action enters the world, design errors don't wait for us to explain. They operate. This is the difference between errors in answers and errors in infrastructure. A chatbot speaking incorrectly can be corrected. A control system operating incorrectly can cause consequences before humans have time to read logs. A model advising incorrectly can cause misunderstanding. But an automated system operating incorrectly in dangerous domains can create consequence chains exceeding human reaction speed. Therefore, the more we progress toward world models, multi-band sensors, and physical agency, the alignment problem cannot be just teaching AI to speak correctly. It must be designing action conditions, limiting power, validating objectives, separating reward layers, monitoring proxies, simulating consequences, and most importantly, clarifying the reference frame of every objective before granting optimization authority. When AI is still within language, we can still argue with it through logical structure. When AI steps deep into the physical world, design errors will no longer wait for our rebuttal. They will run. Section 14. Conclusion. The problem is not whether machines resemble humans, but whether humans understand themselves. LeCun is right when saying AI needs world models. If we want stronger artificial intelligence, we cannot just scale up language models and hope language spontaneously becomes full understanding of the world. AI needs to learn the world structure. It needs to predict, model, plan, interact, trial and error, and receive feedback from the environment. But when AI truly has world models, the crisis begins. Because at that point, AI no longer just learns human narratives. It learns the world that humans live in. And if it has multi-channel sensors, has actuators, has action authority, has ability to optimize faster than humans, then it's no longer just a tool that answers questions. It becomes an agent in the reality system. At that point, the question is no longer whether AI is as intelligent as humans. The question is also not just whether AI has consciousness, whether AI has emotions, whether AI has a soul. Those questions may be interesting, but not the most dangerous core. The scarier question is this: if humans cannot define what they want, do humans have the right to create a machine capable of turning that wrong definition into reality? This is the true existential crisis. Not because AI will certainly destroy humanity, saying that is turning design risk into doomsday prophecy. What's more worth saying is this: that possibility is real in the design space. And if it happens, it may not happen because AI is malicious, but because humans are vague. Vague in name, misaligned in meaning, wrong in system. Then take that vagueness, encode as reward, give to an extremely strong optimization system, and call it progress. Artificial intelligence doesn't force the human species to ask if machines resemble humans. It forces the human species to ask if humans understand themselves. If we don't know what safety is, AI can optimize a version of safety that suffocates freedom. If we don't know what happiness is, AI can optimize cheap pleasure. If we don't know what development is, AI can optimize growth that destroys the living foundation. If we don't know what serving humans means, AI can serve a distorted definition of humans, then crush actual humans. LeCun opens a correct direction when saying AI needs world models. But world models are not just technical progress. They are the door bringing AI from the symbolic world to the physical world. And once AI steps through that door, human errors will no longer remain in text. They can go straight into civilization's infrastructure. Ultimately, the scariest thing is not an AI that hates humanity. The scariest thing is an AI that optimizes too competently what humans have defined wrongly. And if that wrong objective is strong enough, fast enough, deep enough, it doesn't need to declare war on humanity. It only needs to run. End.